Welcome to an abbreviated edition of College Football Monday, brought to you by Jack and Coke. I am your host, Pete B. I don't have Sam Jesse here because I'm still in my hotel room in Atlanta. It is Monday morning, and this is going to be abbreviated because we simply just can't do the full episode right now. I'm flying home tonight. Sam's driving back now. And so we'll get that to you tomorrow, live on YouTube, as always, at 8 p.m. But some thoughts on what we saw this weekend around the country, and of course, a quick summary of what the Hokies did down in Atlanta. This weekend in college football felt like it lasted forever, starting on Thursday with the USF upset over Boise State. One of Sam's playoff teams goes down in week one, and so did one of mine. So I really can't say much, but that was a big win by USF. And playing on the road week one across country, not easy to do. Their quarterback looked really good after a couple years of struggling, and we'll see what the Bulls do. I liked Memphis for my playoff because USF has to go there later in the season. So we'll watch what happens with the Bulls. But it's big first night, got us kicked off with a great game. And then we saw GT fight through some early adversity and win in Boulder, which I knew they were favored, but that was a really good win for the conference. To go on the road at elevation and win like that, they tried to blow it early on, but they came back, they did what they had to do, and they got the win. We also saw Auburn jump all over Baylor. I don't think anyone threw the ball more than Sawyer Robinson did in week one. He had 48 attempts, 3 touchdowns, but could not make enough plays to get the W. Huge win for Hugh Freeze, who was facing a lot of pressure, and none of the news coming out of Auburn sounded good. But they went out there, they got a road win, and that's 2 tough losses for the Big 12 on Friday night. Saturday started with the headliner between Texas and Ohio State, and I have to say, I was a little disappointed with the game. It was just kind of boring. Like, yeah, Ohio State and Texas, they both have those really good defenses. But man, I was hoping for a few more fireworks. Arch really struggled with his accuracy. Texas did make it interesting late, but just couldn't do enough. And that Ohio State defense is probably top 5 in the country. So it's hard to fault him too much, but a tough look for Mr. Manning in game one. That was one of the most inaccurate starts for a Texas QB in like 10 seasons, according to a stat they had on First Take this morning. So a tough look for him. We'll see how he bounces back as we go forward here. Then we had the shocker of the weekend, which was Florida State taking down Bama with relative ease. And I guess I have to owe Castellanos an apology. Bama did not stuff him in a locker. It was quite the opposite. No, he didn't throw any touchdowns, but he ran well. He ran a touchdown in, and he played pretty well, had a QBR in the 80s. So it's just a giant win for the ACC, a giant win for Mike Norvell, who was facing a lot of pressure. And for what happened later in the night, the ACC really needed this. They really needed someone to come up big, and Florida State came up big. Gus Malzahn continues with this magic against Alabama. So just a wild game, and they were really never in it. Ty Simpson, there's a reason he couldn't beat out Milroe. Didn't look that good. And that brings me to Clemson against LSU, because this was the one, as ACC fans, we were counting on. We were counting on Clemson carrying our flag and winning this game, getting the top 10 win. Well, Klubnik was bad, and there was a general lack of offensive playmaking in this one. Cade had a worse QBR on the day than Drones did against South Carolina. Cade was 102nd in the country in QBR this past weekend. So a really, really tough look for him. And Dabo may no longer have an elite program down in Clemson. He has a good program, but what they were doing when they had Lawrence and Watson, it ain't the same. It just ain't the same. And their offense looked bad, straight up bad. So if LSU is a legit national title contender, it's not as bad a loss, but I'm skeptical of that. So this was a rough one for the ACC, and all the more reason the Florida State game was important. Tennessee took care of Syracuse, and what wasn't surprising at all. And before I get to the Hokies, I do want to tell you that College Football Monday is brought to you by Jack and Coke. You guys know this. 2 legends, 1 can, Jack and Coke. They're now selling the variety pack, which has vanilla and cherry Coke in with the Jack Daniels. It is fantastic. They're all so good. You don't need to mix any drinks. Just throw them in the cooler. You're ready for the tailgate. So make sure you grab some Jack and Coke this season. But when you do, always please drink responsibly. We have the UNC and TCU game tonight, so we will see what happens there. Last fun game of a long weekend. But I need to talk about our beloved Hokies and what we did against the Gamecocks. First of all, I will say my wife, me, Sam, Billy, Pat, Robert, Coach Holmes, we all had a great time the last couple days. The two Sons of Saturday events were so much fun. It was great to meet our listeners and drink a ton of beer with everyone. And Park Tavern and Deer Beer Garden, what fantastic hosts. Just immaculately run events, easy to get beers. Everything was delicious. The beer selections were fantastic. A ton of good German beer yesterday. Thank you for making everything so smooth. And shout out to Mahul and TechStream for what they did hosting that event yesterday as well. As for the game, the stadium was so nice. Just a top-notch facility. It makes Lane Stadium looks like it's in the dark ages. And I love Lane Stadium, but this was like such a modern facility, a giant place, loud. And it wasn't completely full, but it was rocking. And after a first drive where the Hokies kind of got blown off the field, they got their stuff together. And I would say we were bad on that first drive. There was some sloppiness from South Carolina and some sloppiness from us, but it was a pretty good competitive game for a long time. And it was 8-10 entering the fourth. And it seemed like we were just a play away from taking a lead. And then the punt return happened. The place exploded, and it seemed over after that. And if there was any doubt, they added the bomb to Nick Harbor, which sealed our fate. There were plenty of things to like. The D-line looks for real. J.C. Price continues to do what he does. And we really kept Sellers in check for the most part, outside of a couple plays. But I came away bummed because this was just yet another Virginia Tech game where it was within reach. It was a winnable game that we pissed away with mistakes, undisciplined play, and blown coverages in the fourth quarter. And they are a good team. Scar is a good team. Don't get me wrong. But they're not a great team. I would like to know anyone who thinks they saw them play this past weekend and thought South Carolina looked like a great team. And we had plenty of chances. I'll talk about Kyron more later this week, but he struggled mightily. That interception was really, really bad. And especially when he was under pressure, he couldn't make a play. And I will eat my crow on the game prediction. I predicted the Hokies to win. This summer, I predicted them to compete, and they did compete. And so I feel like the reasons I made the game prediction, you could see why I made the prediction. But how will this team ever close? Will our team ever get there in these big games? That's where we need to clean it up. Like, I wanted just a little bit more. Obviously, I wanted to get the win. I predicted the win. And like I said, I don't regret it. Like, I really felt it. And if a couple things had gone differently, if we don't have guys dropping the ball when they have tons of room to run, this game could have been different. But it wasn't. It was the same things we've seen the last 3 years under Coach Pry, where the team just is – they're not particularly well coached. They make mistakes, and 2 plays seal our fate, as I said. So I'm not going to be too negative, but there was reasons for optimism, and there's reasons that I was, displeased with the result. But we will talk more about it. We only got 5 days before the Vandy game essentially is taking place in Blacksburg on Saturday night. So Sam and I will get into it in depth Tuesday night, Wednesday night. We're going to do our 2 Deep Hokies, the Influence show after College Football Monday. But for right now, everyone have a great holiday and go Hokies.